Hi guys and welcome back to the tutorial series Core Java Basics from Java for Noobs. Okay, so in the last tutorial we saw what are classes, what an object is and what a method is. So let us now see what a data type is. So basically data type word is self-explanatory in itself. It is the type of data that we use in our program. So what could be the types like numerical data and alphabetic data, right? So if you want to give some data to the program, we need to use the proper data types. Let us see the types of data that we have. So first type of data is primitive data types. These are the data types which let us handle the number and alphabetic types of data. Also, these are predefined by the language and named by a keyword. Okay, so what is a keyword? A keyword is simply a word or a term that is reserved by the language for particular purpose. Like class is a keyword. We cannot use it for defining a mango or an orange or anything. A class is a class. So that's what a keyword is. So primitive data type are predefined by the language. Okay. The second data type is reference type. If you remember, we saw how an object is created out of the class, right? So a class have many data inside it. Like for example, the student class had name, roll number and subjects. And these data combined and formed an object for one student. So this object is called a reference data type. Okay, hope that clears it. Moving on to types of primitive data types. There are, I believe, 8 types of primitive data types. Let's look at these one by one. The smallest data type is byte. The size is 1 byte or 8 bits. So if you want to store a data with value starting from -128 to +127, use this data type. And if you do not assign a value, the default value is 0. Next data type is short. The size is 2 byte or 16 bits. So if you want to store a data with a value of -32,768 to +32,767, use this data type. And if you do not assign a value, the default value is again 0. So the next data type is int or integer data type. The size is 4 bytes or 32 bits. So if you want to store a data with the value this to the value this, well, use this kind of data type. If you do not assign a value, again the default value will be 0, right? Well, in my experience, int is the most used data type in a program. Okay, moving to the next data type is long. Long is similar to integer, but the size is large, that is 8 byte or 64 bit. So if you want to store a data with the value starting from minus this to plus this, it's a large data, right? So in this case, use long. So the default value is 0L if we do not give any value to it. Long is used when we need to use very large number, and int is not suitable to accommodate such large number. In such case we use long. Okay, so the next data type is float. The size of float is 4 byte or 32 bits, and the default value is 0.0 f. See the decimal here, which means if we need to use fractional number as data, or what we say data with floating decimal, we use float. Next data type is double. Same as float, but the size is 8 byte or 64 bit. And if you do not assign a value, default value is 0.0 d. So for large floating values, use double. Okay, again, as per my experience, this is one of the most used data type if we need a decimal data type. Okay, so the next data type is Boolean, which can have only true or false data. So if we say true, it will be stored as 1 and 0 for false. The default is false. Okay, so the only alphabetic primitive data type is char or character, which can store a character in it like A, B, C, X, Y, Z, or anything, any character. For this kind of data, we use character data type or char. So this was all about data types. Now we need to know if we need to store a particular data type, where can we do that? How can we do that? Like we need to store an integer data. So how we store it? So for this we need variables. So variable is a piece of memory which is used for storing a data type. So simply putting it this way, a piece of memory which is assigned to a data is a variable. Okay, so there are three types of variable which is used in a program. So first is local variables. In a program, inside a method, inside a block, or inside a constructor, we use variables. For now, ignore constructors. So that is why I have added it to our to be discussed window. Okay, so these variables are local to the block or method, which means these variables are created when the code enters that particular block or method, and the variable is destroyed when the code exits the block. So if outside this block or method we try to access these variables, we won't be able to. Also, as we said earlier, that each data type has some default value. But if the data type is associated with a local variable, there is no default value to it. We need to give the variable some value before using it. Okay, so the next type of variable is called instance variable. These are defined inside a class but outside any method, constructor, or a block. Like if you remember in our previous student class, name, role, and subjects were what we call the instance variables. So the third type of variables is static variables. These are the class level variables. Imagine in a class student, we need some feature that must be same for all student. Like a name is different for different student. So each object of the student will have separate value for the same for the name variables, right? But if we define a static variable like school, right? The name of the school, for example, like Thomas Jefferson High School, right? So then all the student objects will have this same value for the school name. So this is called the static variable. Okay, so that was the variables. So we learned to get data of different data types into variables. Now, what do we need to do if we need to do some operations, any type of operations on these data? Say we have two integer data and we need to do a sum of those data. So for this we have different operators. So basically operators are used to manipulate the data types. Okay, so there are 6 types of operators. First is arithmetic operators. These does not need much explaining. We all know the plus, minus, multiplication and division. Now what is this percentage sign that we have here? This is called modulus operator. It gives the remainder when a number is divided by another number. Like 5 divided by 2, we get 2 as the answer. But 5 modulus 2 will give us 1 because the remainder is 1. Okay, so plus plus and minus minus, these are the increment and decrement by 1. If a data value is 6, plus plus will make it 7 and minus minus will make it 5. Okay, the second type of operators are relational operators. These are used when we need to compare two data. So equal to is equals check. This is not equal to, not equals check. And we have the common greater than, less than, greater than equal to, and a less than equal to. Now the bitwise operator are the binary operators. I won't get deep into these as these are not much used unless we need to do some complex operations. On the contrary, the logical operators are used almost in all the programs. So the ampersand is what we call and comparison, and this one we called or comparison, and this is the not comparison. So these logical operators are used on Boolean values. So a true and true will be true, but a true and false will give false, and a false and false is also false. So similarly, on OR operator, true or true will be true, true or false will be true, and false or false will be false. And not is the not, that is not true is false and not false is true. A little complex when we look at this way, but when we start coding you will understand the simplicity of these operators. So moving on to assignment operators, these are used to assign value to a variable. So equal to simply assigns the value to the variable. The rest are, well, self assignments. This will add it and then assign the value, this will subtract and then assign the value, and these are the similar operations. So this are self-explanatory, we don't need to get deep into it. When the requirement comes, we will understand these operators. Okay, now two unique operators are there in Java. One is the ternary operator and the other is instance of operator. We will come to these later because we need more information about Java to understand these two operators. So for now, Let's not get into these. Okay guys, so that's enough theory for now. In the next video, we will implement all these knowledge of class, object, method, data type, variables and operators by writing codes. We will be doing a lot of coding in the next video. This will let us understand these concepts properly. Okay, so please like, subscribe and share this video with other noobs out there. Also stay tuned to my channel Java for Noobs for more videos. See you next time. Bye bye.